Journalist Don Lemon, formerly an anchor of CNN, was arrested by federal agents for his coverage of a black-led action at a Minnesota church where an ICE agent is the pastor. Also arrested that day was Minnesota-based journalist Georgia Fort and several other black activists and organizers of the action. Joining us to discuss is Kalonji Jama Changa, an award-winning political activist considered by many to be one of the most effective organizers in the United States. Kalonji is a highly active community organizer, prolific author, lecturer, and filmmaker, widely recognized as the founder of the influential FTP Movement and the media organization Black Power Media. Through his work, he focuses on fostering and mobilizing grassroots power structures dedicated to Black liberation and social justice. Better bio, bro?
Hey man, look here, man. I knew you was gonna do that. I said, boy, I said, man, listen, man, Cat about to remix it. You know what I mean? 'Cause that's what she do. What's going on, my great sister?
You
I'm
know,
thinking about moving to the Bay because I've been seeing a lot of folks in the Bay. You know what I mean? I just need an apartment and a couple coins, and I'm there. You know what I mean?
come
We
on,
gotta
come on, come on.
see what's good.
ABTP got apartments above the building. We'll work it out. We'll work it
Let's
out.
get it. I'm ready. I'm ready.
We need you. We need you, my G.
Hey, you know we do. Word, word. Definitely honored to
Definitely gonna
be.
have you back here more. That must
No
happen.
doubt, no doubt. I enjoyed it, you know what I'm saying, and I love the show. So thank you for inviting me again. I'm getting so used to KPFA. I was about to say, this is a Pacifica Radio, and then I'm like, oh, I'm a guest today.
Ah,
I'm a guest today, no
ooh,
doubt,
we're
no
gonna be
doubt.
calling on you for some hosting too. I'm about to take some
Man,
breath here
I'm.
in a
Hey,
minute.
let's go, let's go, let's get it.
Brother Kalanji, you texted me the media alert about Don Lemon. I don't even think I was out of bed yet. And I think my first response back was bruh. And even though I knew we both knew what I meant by that, I
No
did
doubt.
follow up by saying if they did this to Don Lemon, what they finna do to us. Talk about in what ways this is a canary in the coal mine for Black truth tellers.
Well, I mean, we have to recognize, man. You know, we've all heard the saying that the pen is mightier than the sword. You know what I mean? So in this day and age, you know, we can't play with them, man. We have to, you know, our paper has to be the grenade. And as soon as we pull a pin out, you know what happens, right? So the thing is, um, I was speaking with Mumia a few days ago, right? And I was asking him his thoughts. And one of the things that he talked about is how dangerous and much and how much of a threat the journalist is. And this is coming from someone who literally ended up on death row because of his journalism. Don't get it twisted. You know, it's not about him killing no cop and nothing like that. All of that has been, you know, thrown out the window. The fact that he's a journalist, that he was, you know, primarily working on behalf of Move, you know, during that particular trial. You know, people don't know Mumia interviewed folks like Bob Marley, Alex Haley, Dr. J when he was the Jordan of his time, in his prime. You know what I'm saying? You know, this is a man who was a serious journalist, right? He was respected, and of course, he still is. But you know, we recognize that what's going on is the truth teller recognizing the fact that we know that corporate media is what we call mercenary media. They're for hire. So you have folks like us who exist even on a lot of these different platforms. You know, we are a rarity. You know what I'm saying? On a lot of these different programs, so on and so forth. We're like the last of the Mohegans because of the fact that, you know, we're unbought,
Mhm.
you know, and the fact that we're not corporate sponsored, we are people funded, you know what I'm saying? And most of the time the funding comes in love. It's not even, you know, it's not a financial thing, a monetary thing, you know. However, you know, they know that we are dangerous because of the fact that we're seeing what's going on with Georgia Fort. We just literally, I was hosting Hard Knock maybe 2 weeks prior to Georgia's arrest, and we had Georgia uh, and Nana Gyamfi on the show, and it's like 2 weeks later, Georgia Fort is getting arrested at her home in front of her children. You know what I mean? And so what is the crime? Is the crime Was the crime of them going inside of the church? No, it's them reporting. And Don Lemon, we already know that he's been an enemy for quite a while. Now, he didn't start off that way. Sometimes you have to learn that, you know, as Imam Jamil Alameen, formerly H. Rap Brown, would say, to be black is necessary, but it ain't sufficient. Sometimes you learn about your blackness, you know, in the field. When you're in the oven, you learn how black you are sometimes. You know, so this is it's really a threat and a warning to the people that anybody can get it, especially the storyteller. How dare you tell the truth? You know what I mean?
Just a side note for folks, for some of that history on Don Lemon's transformation. Ferguson is what started it. If he was on the
Absolutely.
street of Ferguson and was like, wait, what? What is happening? Uh,
Right, right. Like,
this is America? Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yes, sir.
like,
Yes,
yeah.
it's
His
America.
lemon got bitter. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? It's
Yeah.
like, oh, this is real.
And
You
then
know, so
mainstream
yeah,
media fired him, as his analysis evolved.
absolutely.
Kalonji, I think that the black piece, as usual, is missing from the analysis. Yes, this is an attack on free speech, which black folks ain't never really had, to your point about Mumia.
Right.
And yes, this is an attack on journalism for sure, but this is an attack on black journalists and truth tellers who were covering a black-led action, right? The lead organizer, the sister's name is skipping my older brain right now. She's a member of Black Lives Matter Grassroots, our friend Melina's organization, right?
Right.
Um, and that I think has to be part of the conversation, and it is up to folks like us to insert it. So I'm gonna make the room for you to talk about that.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah, no. So I mean, yes, the blackness is it's it's what it is. It's like, you know, first of all, we're still looked at as second, third, fourth class citizen. I mean, the fact is, even before the journalism, let's take it back when we talk about ICE alone. You know, I just had the fiance of Rodney Taylor on my show yesterday. And for your listeners and the viewers who don't know who Rodney Taylor is, of course you don't know who Rodney Taylor is. He was a double amputee arrested here in Atlanta last year. He's been locked up for a year, a little over a year now. Okay, so he's on his way to work, taking his wife to work. His two children's in the back, and they you know, ICE rolls up on him. You know, bulletproof vest, playing cars, no insignia, no nothing, just a bunch of cats with bulletproof vests, pulling out guns, snatch him out the car. His wife's like, well, what's going on? I mean, who are you? He's like, ICE Atlanta. At the time, she didn't know what ICE or who ICE was. She's like, well, who is ICE? He told her to Google it. And they take her husband, who's a double amputee, who's been in the United States since age 2, right? Now this man right here, they accuse him of breaking into, and I know we're talking about the journalist, but they accuse him of breaking into his neighbor's home um, when he was 16. The man had 70-pound wooden legs. He's 16 years old, and they claim he climbed through a window to steal a stereo. And when the police get there, he's sitting on his porch because he just left the hospital the day before. So they threaten him with 5 years if he doesn't say he's guilty. Of course, a 16-year-old by himself, he's like, okay, well, I did it. They wait till he turns 18 and they charge him with a felony. Okay. Fast forward 2010, he's pardoned because of the fact, first of all, they know it's a ridiculous charge, right? He's pardoned. Last year, 2025, they roll up on him and arrest him for a crime that not only did he not commit, but the state of Georgia on record has pardoned him. He's been locked up going on a year and some change. He was just put in solitary confinement recently because of the fact that you have to charge his new his prosthetic electric legs has to be charged. He's in a day room at the prison where they're holding him. They tell him to go in the room for count. He's like, look, I can't even move. You all didn't give me, you know, you didn't charge my legs. and there's water, there's flooding on the floor in the room. They tell him he's been insubordinate and unruly, and they put him in solitary confinement. This is America. The man's a double amputee. They put him in solitary confinement for not being able to walk back to his cell. You understand what I'm saying? So we hear about what happened with the two folks, Good and Petrie over in Minnesota. We hear about what's going on in Minnesota. This is before Trump even took office. So let's not get it twisted and just say it's a Trump thing. You know what I mean? This is January 15th, and the man's been locked up since. We haven't heard a word about his name. Then you have the other brother, Keith Porter, who was shot and killed in LA, New Year's. We don't start hearing about ICE, the atrocities, the 32 other people that were murdered in 2025 until two white folks are gunned down in Minnesota. Now, rightfully so, we should know about that. But when you talk about journalism, if there's no black journalists, you won't hear about black people. You know
That's
what I mean?
yeah, that's the only reason Keith Porter's name has been uplifted. Black organizer, Dr. Melina Abdullah, and
Absolutely.
folks like me and you and others that said his name and then strategically utilized the windfall, if you will, of the
Right.
tragic murders of Ms. Good and Mr. Preddy to be able to also insert his name. Otherwise, his neighbors would have known.
To be a black independent journalist in America right now is a revolutionary act. You understand? If you're not sponsored, if you're not, you don't have corporate sponsors, and you're not, and you're not being instructed by the state, if you're not being instructed by the police unions, if you're not being instructed by the ADL, the JDL, or whatever L, you're gonna take a L. You understand what I'm saying? Get him off this joint. You know what I mean? Because of the fact that get her off of here because of the fact that they're awakening the masses because they would like us to believe, particularly black folks, specifically black folks, to believe that it's not our fight. Well, I don't know whose fight is it because of the fact that we're talking about the state apparatus. We're talking about the same enslavers that have kept us under certain conditions since since we were introduced to them. So I don't know whose fight it is, but the thing is, we're at a stage in life itself where it's been dangerous to be black. But again, when you're talking about reporting, and here's the funny thing, Kat. I'm listening yesterday to mercenary media because you got to still jump in and see what they're talking about, right? And one of the things that they talked about was how uh, the Minnesota, the state of Minnesota was talking about if you are a federal agent, then you have to wear body cameras. And so that's supposed to be a big thing. And people were happy, but people was happy talking about, they got to wear body cameras. What does that mean? They're committing atrocities with cell phones on, with cameras on, with press there. They're locking up the press, locking up the media. We already know the body cams aren't even going to work, but what's the use of having body cams when they're doing it on camera already? What do we need them to say that they're doing it? Who are they going to report to? Each other? You know what I'm saying? That's
Right.
like someone calling Cat saying, man, Kalonji's too loud, he's too rambunctious, and he's out there doing revolutionary work. And you'd be like, well, I never. Like, I could never believe. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do they expect? So it's just insanity. But we, and I saw some black people that was happy about that. He's like, yeah, well, they got to wear body cams now. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
Happen. I mean, we had the same conversation when body cams became a thing for local law enforcement. Everybody was like, "We got them now," and then Walter
right.
Scott happened, and
Listen, man.
quite
So
proven.
yeah, but we are, we're in. I don't even want to say the belly of the beast. We're just, in the mortal words of Pop, we're probably in hell already. We
Mhm.
don't know it. Everybody kissing to go to heaven ain't going. That's what's going on right now, man. There are no rules. It's funny because of the fact that, you know, when these folks went up in the church, it was a big thing. Dylan Roof went inside the
Come
church.
on.
You know what I'm saying? And
Come
they
on.
bought him a burger.
Come
You
on.
know what I'm saying? So we're a strange world, baby.
And for folks that don't know, and I'm gonna switch tacks after this because I want to get your opinion on something else. Well, two things. For folks that aren't aware, that Don Lemon and Georgia Ford were arrested on charges that are possible from an 1871 law originally designed to take on the Ku Klux Klan. Yeah, also the FACE Act, the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, which is supposed to protect abortion clinics and people going into them for healthcare.
Right,
Howsoever,
right,
a law that was supposed to protect black folks from white violence, white atrocity, right, is what they used to arrest these two black journalists reporting on white atrocity.
right, right. I mean, it's that's the games they play.
Right?
Yeah, it's like the same laws that they create, they break or have broken. And most of the time they were breaking it when they was writing it. You know what I mean? So we can, and of course we don't want to. I hate to bring this scumbag Puffy into the piece, but they utilize these laws, um, and they flip them in a way that that will pummel you. You know what I mean? I'm seeing black folks being accused of lynching because they're fighting back when they're attacked by white folks. You know what I mean? So, if two white folks attack someone black and the brothers get the best of them, now all of a sudden they're charged with lynching in places in the South.
Right.
You know what I mean? The word lynching shouldn't even be utilized when referring to black people.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, this is, I mean, like the young boys say, this is America. You know what I mean? And this is what we expect. As Imam Jamil would say, this is what comes with war. You know, we can take this thing back. You talking about wartime, Alien Enemies Act. You know what I'm saying? Them bringing this whole thing back, man. So immigration, and I think that we should be clear about this too. When it comes to ICE, it's less about immigration and more about domination. It's more about race. It's more about classes and so on and so forth than it is actual immigration. Because at the end of the day, if immigration was serious, then the very ICE agents that are putting everyone else out would be, they'd be deported themselves because they came here illegally. Let's not get it twisted.
Yeah, I was vibing on that actually late last night in my bed because that's what I'll do before I go to sleep. I'll be running through all of the things, and I was thinking about the end of the temporary protection status order for Haitians and the mass deportations that are coming for them. And what came to me just randomly was like, this is a purification process.
Yep.
They are purifying America for white folk.
Yes.
That's what.
Yes. Yes. ICE is the Gestapo. We talked about that. You know what I mean? And I think that folks, when we talk about Gestapo, I think a lot of times folks think we're talking some slick sound bites. The Gestapo laws of February 10th, 1936, 90 years ago, almost to date. You know what I mean? These were laws that gave Gestapo carte blanche, you know what I'm saying, to act and do as they saw fit. You know what I mean? And this is what is happening with ICE right now. Gestapo orders and actions we're not subject to review by administrators. Um, the concentration camps, so on and so forth. This is where we are right now. You know what I mean? It's a different form, and we're slowly being walked into it. And the confusion comes because of the fact that everybody's looking and they're talking about, oh, it's all Trump. This is bigger than Trump. ICE came before Trump.
Yes.
Let's not get it twisted. This is a plan. Now he's carrying out the plan. You know what I'm saying? But keeping it a buck, ICE was formed what in 2003? We're
Yes.
like 23 years in right now. You know what I mean? So it's like just because you're just finding out about it, don't mean that it hasn't been happening. We talk about Obama, 3 million people deported under his administration. I was speaking to someone yesterday, and they're like, well, you can't compare the two because Trump's only been in office for a year and Obama was in 8 years. I said Trump was in office for 5 years.
Oh,
Well, that didn't count because that was 4 years. What do you mean? So you mean to tell me that if you murdered people in the 90s, that don't count if you murder them in 2020? I mean, like, what are we talking about here?
They don't
Well,
like
those,
come for the Obama, Kalonji. They don't like that.
man,
Them
listen,
man, they be real revolutionary until you start coming for their Obama, and then they get real
man,
mad.
and this was a revolutionary, quote unquote,
That's
talking.
what I
So,
just said. They be real
yeah,
revolutionary
that's what
until
I'm
you
talking.
come for their black Obama,
I'm
boy.
sitting there. I'm like, man, we make our. I mean, they'll redo math in order to make, you know what I'm saying, to make it fit to for what it has to. So yeah, this is life we live, man. I'm grateful. We stay in the fight. Even if we don't want to fight, we don't have a choice here.
There's no choice. One more question for you. The next guest is in the waiting room, but I can't let you go
Oh,
without
good.
this. So apologies to the next guest. I promise I will
Oh,
get to
good. Peace to
you.
the next guest. Hopefully, it's someone I like. I'm just
Um,
joking.
last Friday, Brother Kalonji, thousands and thousands of folks took to the streets across the country demanding ICE out now. No more funding for ICE. Some folks I'm in the Bay, so screaming abolish ICE.
Uh-huh.
I think we need to be clear that is not the mandate of a lot of people that are out there right now. They just want a nicer, kinder, body cam wearing version
Right.
um, of ICE. I'm all for shutting it down. I actually have been saying in closed circles because I don't actually feel like it's responsible. It was responsible to say it out loud that we all just need to sit down. Like,
Right.
just stop engaging, stop participating, stop going to work, stop going to school, stop paying
Hmm.
attention. Oh, just stop.
Right.
Howsoever, we can't tell our people to do that until we ensure we have the people's mechanisms in place to deal with when they shut the water off, when they turn off the power, when they send in the actual military who's going to do actual military things. And so I'm not knocking last Friday. I think it's important. I think reactionary activity like protest, mass protest is important. It's an important first step of organizing, right? It channels people's energy, their anger, their rage. They feel like they're doing something. But if that energy, this is why APTP was born. This was a real-time life learned lesson. If that energy is not then funneled into strategic tactical organizing, preparing people to do the thing you are chanting on the street, it's political masturbation.
Absolutely.
I just made a lot of people mad, and that's okay. That's what I do. Talk about briefly, because I do got to talk to this brother. Um, what needs to happen? Like, what are the strategic tactical steps that we could talk about here that need to happen to really put us in some sort of formation that's actually going to make an impact? Because them billionaires laughed at us on Friday. They were like, right on that just cost me $2.52.
Absolutely. Urban survival preparedness. Um, of course, organizing almost sounds cliche, but folks have to really get up on the black prepper tip because things are getting thick. You know what I mean? It's all about survival preparedness at this point. Now we can, I agree with you, shut it down, just ignore them, so on and so forth. Unfortunately, right now that's not realistic. You know what I mean? But what is realistic is us um, buying together. I'm not talking about black buying power. I'm talking about us getting as much water as possible, getting some emergency. If you don't know how to grow at this point, learning how, learning how to can, you know what I mean, getting trained up in every particular way you possibly could, you know, getting your tools in order. If you can't carry uh, a gun, you better get a nail gun. You understand what I'm saying? A staple gun, something, a tool belt. You understand what I'm saying? Something that if you can't carry legally, quote unquote, get yourself a tool belt. You know what I mean? And learn how to use these tools in every which way you can. Because right now we are headed to hell in a handbasket. And I think that the sad thing is by the time we realize where we're headed, the current will sweep us away. So if we don't get up on this survival preparedness right now, um, getting prepped up and treating this thing like everything's going to shut down tomorrow because it very well may shut down tomorrow, then you're in trouble. Really, we're late if you haven't already started. You understand? But if you hear my voice right now, treat it like you do when you hear they say that COVID's coming and you need to get some water and some toilet paper. You know what I'm saying? And of course, you ain't thinking about no food. You just need toilet paper to wipe. I don't know why that is, but it's sold. You know what I mean? So forget the toilet paper, get the water, get you some food,
Oh,
and
man.
worry about that other later. You know what I'm
That
saying?
part. Kalonji Jama Changa, thank you, brother, for coming on the show.